Want business growth but feel like you're running in circles? Find out how a business retreat could be exactly what you were looking for. Hi, Jody. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
Hey, Jenny, I am great. I hope you're well.
I am. I am really excited to be able to have this conversation with you from burnout to breakthrough, how business retreats fuel growth. Before we jump into that, will you actually introduce yourself and your business for those that are unfamiliar with you? We're obviously going to link to your past episode about being in the travel industry and how that's changed over the years. But I want people who have never met you or heard of you before to get to know a little bit more about you.
Sure. So my name is Jody Halsted. I have actually been in the online space since 2003 at the very beginning of blogging, and I've gone through a few different changes. But what I do now is I am the owner of Ireland Family Vacations, the host of the Traveling in Ireland podcast, and I specialize in helping people plan amazing Ireland vacations that don't follow the basic cookie cutter routes. It's something that I have been blessed to be able to do with over 23 years of Ireland travel experience and 23 years of making friends and contacts through the country. So it's been so much fun, and I absolutely love what I do, even if there are times of the year that I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. This is just so not worth it, because it's always worth it. There are just times that are, I don't know, more frustrating, or where you feel like you're swimming upstream. I don't know, but it's the best job ever because it's mine.
Yes. Yeah. And that roller coaster feeling, right? There's always those
Hmm.
times in business that I feel like I keep having that conversation with people. You never burn anything down during the months of June, July, and August because you just don't. That is a season of just chaos, I think, in most
Yeah.
people's lives because of the summer, but also because many of our people are not as engaged and we feel like we're just shouting into the void. So I
Hmm.
love that.
Hmm.
All right, so let's talk about retreats. How is a retreat different from a conference or online training?
I think that the power of a retreat comes from being around other people who are in a similar situation. What we do is so isolated, right? I don't know anybody else who does exactly what I do. So I'm not going to be able to go find a conference, or even, there are plenty of travel blogging conferences, but they don't fit my needs. They're too general, right? And while I love the camaraderie of it, it doesn't hit me right, because, uh, as I said, I've been in the space for 22 years. Good Lord. Um, so unless it's super niche content, there's very little that I don't know or haven't experienced or can't just figure out myself. So the power of a retreat comes from not necessarily being with people who are doing exactly what you're doing, but it comes from being with people who are in the same circumstance as you. They are working to grow their business. They are working to get the knowledge to help them no matter what space they're in. And also having the energy and just being having that around you, and it's like an adrenaline, like a buzz that you get, and being around smart women who are looking to do things that are similar to you, who you can bounce ideas off and help with. It revives you, and I think that it does something being in person. We're so isolated in our little offices, our little cubes. And even if we're talking to people and we're making connections that way, there's just nothing like the face-to-face contact and the power that comes from that. And as women especially, we have a tendency to put family first. Um, and and really kind of put ourselves on the back burner. And I think that if you're a businesswoman and really serious about growing a business, then you've got to put that, if not first, not before your kids maybe, or your marriage, but it's got to be up there at the top. Otherwise, you're you're not giving it everything you can. And that may be just the way I think about it, but I know that the minute I was able to take my business and put it ahead of other things, ahead of a clean house, ahead of making meals from scratch every single night, ahead of um you know just and I mean, I homeschooled at first too, so I had kids always at home. But the minute I was able to position my business in a place where it was more important than just a hobby was when I noticed a change in what I was doing. So
Yes.
I don't
Oh
know
my
if that
goodness.
actually answered the retreat question or not.
No, it definitely does because I do. I feel like the retreat gives you that ability to have a personalized plan for yourself
Mhm,
by getting the opinions of others that are not necessarily in your niche. I think that's always one of my favorite things about the programs that I run with Mastermind is that it's
mhm,
not always people from the same niche. So you bring different thoughts and different ideas and perspectives and kind of your experience as well, and not necessarily just business experience, but also life experience because the
mhm.
things that people are creating, you see how it's meant for you and you're the perfect fit. So you can also speak to that aspect of what would pull you in and take you along on that customer journey. So I always think that that piece is just so important as well.
Well, and especially if you're around people who aren't doing exactly what you're doing, it's a great way to see what's working for them and to think, well, how could that work for me? Is that something that even a little piece would fit into my business and enhance it in this way? It opens your eyes up. We're very narrowly focused, right? We kind of have blinders on like a horse, and to be around people who are just as committed to their growth and their business and seeing what they're doing can really widen your view, which I think is really important.
Yes. So what was your first experience with a business retreat and how did it shift your perspective?
So I've been to conferences like I Allie Worthington's Blistum, what, 2007, 2008, I can't even remember, was like
Mhm.
the first conference I went to. But as far as a retreat, Um, the first one I did was actually yours last year, and it was more concentrated, right? So if you've ever been to a blogging conference or you've ever heard somebody talk about the golden age of blogging, we had those great conferences. Um, the thing you always heard was the best conversations happen in the hallways. So the way I feel a retreat is that it's the hallway all the time. It's really
Mhm.
in depth. You're not getting this 20,000-foot overview from somebody who's done something and it may or may not work for you, but you're digging in and you're really getting in depth with the ideas and the nuts and bolts and the passion behind something, as opposed to this worked for me, maybe it'll work for you. So I think being and last year's retreat, it there was nobody else in travel. Um, and the main reason I went was, number one, I wanted the personal connection. But number two, I wanted just to be able to, sit and be kind of relaxed and talk business and bounce ideas off of other people, but also to have, the extra downtime where it was like, okay, we've all come here for this purpose, but we also, we're people and there's a personal connection as well. And I think that as women, a lot of the times we're missing that personal connection. The more things are online or the more, we're busy with A, B, and C, we let those personal connections go. And I just
Mhm.
think that it's so, it revives you. It's so important to have. You feel like you're in this little sisterhood, and it's a powerful sisterhood. It's, strong, smart women with a forward facing goal. And
Yes.
it's just a really incredible environment to be in.
Yes. And I think too, part of it, and when you're talking about that idea of that sisterhood, because my next question for you is about it, about burnout. And I think that why are you thinking that retreats are so powerful? And you just kind of answered it, right? It gives you that energy back. It gives you that sense of I am not isolated in just this little tiny business. We pull in personal aspects. We pull in our experiences. So I know, I recently shared in a mastermind. I am going through different phases with my daughters. We're getting ready to drive and we're getting, we're in high school and we're making different types of decisions. And I'm thinking about college. And it's always, I think, important to be able to have those perspectives, not only from your personal friends during your real life, but business owners as well, because the way that business owners approach those different stages are different, I think, than the way that maybe someone in your real life that works a 9 to 5 is going to be able to approach it.
You definitely have a different perspective. I know I'm very lucky to be in close proximity with all of my family. And my sister and my sister-in-law both work for large companies. In the insurance business, Des Moines is a very insurance and banking um, city. But they both work 9 to 5s, and when we have family get-togethers, they're speaking to things from a less flexible standpoint, maybe, where things are happening this way, and then they're talking all this software stuff that doesn't affect me, and I'm like bored, bored. But anyway, when you're working, when you're sitting down and having these conversations with people who are they're building what they want to build, it gives you a different perspective on so many things, like just how they plan their days, or the fact that there's I feel like there that work life balance thing that's always seems to be in the ether. There isn't a work life balance, right? You have seasons, but if you're in a 9 to 5, those seasons are very different than if you're self-employed, because I can plan my season to take 6 weeks and be gone. As long as I plan it in advance, things will tick over, and then I'm just checking emails, an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, and I'm good to go. That's completely unheard of for somebody in a 9 to 5. They're not taking 6 weeks to go anywhere. They're not able to drop or shift or move things quickly. And I think that when it comes in, the ability to think on your feet, to make quick decisions that you don't have to check with anybody else, is a very unique thing, and not something that everybody is, I don't want to say trained in, but they just don't have the abilities to do it because it's not part of their daily life.
Yes. And if you don't have these conversations amongst business owners, you're not necessarily going to understand how someone batches their days or schedules their days
Mhm.
or is able to take 6 weeks off or the summer off, that they have all of their content. For some people that like blows their mind, but there are those that are doing and they're showing at these retreats how it works for them within their schedules because of the systems they've created, which is also a piece of what we always talk about. So I just think that does like really bring it in when you're at a retreat, because those are the conversations that end up happening. How are you able to be at every game, or to like you take time to go to travel to Ireland to take tours? It's just part of understanding how you're able to do that by having those conversations. So, what are some of the biggest breakthroughs you've witnessed or experienced at a retreat?
I think that probably, you hear about the light bulb moments, right? But actually seeing it happen is really it's it's almost like you've witnessed something, like an eclipse maybe, where it's just like you can see it happening, and then it's reached its pinnacle and you're like, that's super cool. Um
Mhm.
it just it's like these light bulbs turn on, but they're so powerful. and you can see the adrenaline and the thoughts. It's like this stone rolling down, all these analogies, like a stone rolling down a hill. It starts off slow, and then all of a sudden it picks up speed, and bam, it's right there. I think that those are probably the most incredible moments to be a part of and to witness, because you have the excitement of it. You have people getting excited about their business again, especially if they came in with a block. um, I know that last year there were a couple of people in the retreat that really came in and they were like, I'm not sure. I don't know. Where am I going with this? What am I doing with this? And seeing that blockage move and seeing their excitement and their passion for what they were doing and their way forward, I think was probably one of the most powerful things that I saw last year at the retreat. It just was so inspiring.
Yeah. I think for me, it was Cynthia, when she was talking about her business and walking us through it.
Mhm,
For
mhm,
she's been doing this for a very long time
mhm,
and trying to see where she was trying to go. I remember getting goosebumps when she
mhm,
started talking about the traditions of her family, and like that
mhm,
was the part she wanted to be able to recreate in her recipes, but in her cooking classes as well, and the way
mhm,
that she tied it all together. It was that like epiphany that she had, and you could see the pure joy on her
mhm,
face,
mhm.
about where she was looking to go and how she would be able to do this. It was, like you said, it was inspiring. And there were other ones that happened as well, but that one to me, because I've
Yeah.
known Cynthia, Cynthia's been in my realm for so many years, to see that happen in person was just, I was awestruck.
Yeah, and I was thinking of Cindy and her big sheet of paper and her writing things down and moving them around, and how this is all going to fit together, and just seeing that puzzle completed for her, and just hearing the excitement. And because as she gets more excited, she talks a little faster, and then she's moving things around, and it's like, and this goes here, and just it's it's a rush.
Yep. It's that connection and knowing where you're going to go because you now have a plan because you can see all of it at once.
Hmm.
Oh my
Hmm.
goodness, yes, because it just gets me so excited. So, what role does community and collaboration play in fueling growth at a retreat?
Like individual growth, or what? Tell me what you mean by growth.
I think so. I guess from the retreat last year, one of the key things for me, and I think the things that you had always said to me was that the way that masterminds are done, we collaborate, right? It's not
Mhm,
just
mhm,
me going off the mouth and
mhm,
training for hours and hours on end.
mhm,
It's you all having a discussion with me, getting some questions in as well as part of the group.
mhm.
Um, and where do you feel like for our retreat, how that impacted the overall feel of it?
I think that, when you're in mastermind, you have, 30 minutes every 4 weeks or so. And between that, you're kind of keeping up with, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. And hopefully you're staying on task to hit the goal that you want to hit. um but there isn't, you've got so much time and you're getting your questions answered. But I feel like at the retreat we were able to really say, you know what, we have got this day, here's your chunk of the day, and just to go through, here's where I'm at, here's where I want to be, what are the steps I need to get there. So you have a more thorough experience, if that's the right word to use, where you're going through it step by step by step, and it's all at once, right? So then you can have people go, okay, I see where you're starting, this step, I'm not seeing how it isn't taking you backward, or I feel like there should be something before that, so there's something missing, right? So to me, having people who would possibly be clients on my website, right? They don't have any preconceived notions about what I do or how my business runs. So walking them through it and talking about, here's where I'm at, this is where I want to go, as somebody who has no idea about what I'm doing, or anything, do these steps make sense for the average person? Because I think that, especially when we're in a group of people who are very similar to us, it's very easy to fall into somebody else's path. Oh, well, it worked for them, it'll work for me. Or, it has to be done this way because this is the way everybody is doing it. So to be able to have people who have no idea and have them work through things and see the flow, and they're so much more able to pick out something that wouldn't work for them, or to say, I'm missing something here. So having that, it can change your perspective and give you so much more insight. And it's not that masterminds aren't incredibly helpful, because they are, but having a larger chunk of time to focus on, it's like all on you, all for that time, and getting through that, and having a more thorough view of how other people see what you're doing. It just, it's invaluable. It really is. You're going to be able to see, and you did this to me often. You're like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense. Why are you going that way? Is it really worth your time? And by the end of it, we had all kind of determined, okay, that step is neat, but it's not leading you forward. It's actually just keeping you at the place you're at. And if you want to move forward, then yeah, if you have nothing else to do and you've achieved everything, definitely keep that on the back burner. But, let's take these steps first that are going to take you forward into what your ultimate goals are. And I don't feel like you get that much of that kind of call out in a mastermind.
Right. Yes, because you get so much one-on-one time with each other, because
Hmm.
those mastermind kind of sessions were
Hmm.
built into the retreat. Yes, we did training. Yes, you did individual work. And then we came together and worked through it and kind of made sure and challenged each other, right? I think that that was a big piece of it. Because it was like we started with this big idea of a 90-day plan, taking your customer journey through it, and where are they going to land on this, and then what are the projects and tasks that are going to go into that. But then it was like step by step, how do you get them there? And is it in line with where you're trying to go for those 90 days for 2026? Because that's what we're looking to plan for this retreat, especially, right? So, yes, absolutely. So, last question for you. What advice would you give someone to on the fence, afraid to step away from their business to attend a retreat?
For women, I don't think it's being afraid to step away from their business, to be quite honest. It's very easy for us to step away from our business. And I think that might be part of the problem. We're not afraid to step away from our business. We're afraid to step away from everything else because we are the plate spinner. And if we're not there spinning the plates, they're going to fall. So I I can remember when my girls were very little, the first conferences I went to, they were, gosh, they would have been what, 4, 5, 6-ish. And I can remember spending weeks cooking meals and writing out schedules so my husband can handle it. He's
Mm-hmm.
their dad. He can handle it. My goodness. I had no trust in him whatsoever. So I feel like it's not so much about leaving your business, because it is a business retreat. You're going to have the ability to check your emails, to get back to people. And it comes at, your retreat comes in November. Well, by November, you should have all your Q4 done. This should be the time when everything is coasting through because you're set. If your Q4 isn't done, I would say this is probably the most important place you could be, because even though you're looking at your first 90 days in Q1, Q1 of 2026, let's be honest, you need to be thinking forward to, okay, when do I need to have Q4 done? And I know that I've mentioned this on like calls and stuff. My Q1, I don't plan anything. That's when my business really starts to pick up. Q4, um, just
Right.
absolutely crap for me, just because of my business. So even I think a big part of this is even determining when is the time you need to focus on, these growth plans and these things that need done on your site, and when is the time that you need to get things planned ahead and be ready for the sprint of your busiest time. And when, just figuring those out, I think, is super important. And sometimes it's really hard to see from, you're very, you're on the ground looking at it. You've got to get a 10,000-foot view on that before you're going to actually be able to see the ebbs and the flows. You're looking at the past 2 years or whatever with your stats, and if you don't have stats set up or you're not sure what stats to look at, then having people around you who know and who have done it and who are in that is going to really give you a great view. So going back to your question, because I rambled again, um, nobody's afraid to step away from their business. They're afraid to step away from everything else. And I'm going to tell you, it's entirely possible. And it's just like anything else. It takes a little bit of planning. The last time I went away from my family, and granted, my girls are older now. My youngest is in college now. She just started college this year. But when I was gone for 6 weeks in 2023, she was a junior. And I just ordered, what was it? One of the food boxes that they deliver groceries. So my husband didn't have to go shopping. And I was like, here's your meals. They're easy to make. Here's your breakfast. They're easy to make. And, and I was gone for 6 weeks in another country. And nothing
Right.
fell apart. I mean, yes, there were a couple of things I missed that had not been on the schedule. And I am super blessed because her birthday fell in there. I wasn't planning on being gone. And then I had an opportunity I could not turn down. It was just way too much money. And it kept me there another month, right? So that's why I was there 6 weeks. And, I'm blessed enough that I was able to say, okay, come over to see me for your birthday. And I had my daughter for her 17th birthday in Ireland with me. It was an off week for me. And we had some absolutely amazing experiences. So you can work things out. And this is only 4 days. So, you're not going to be gone an excessive amount of time. Maybe you'll miss a football game, or maybe you'll miss uh, somebody else's birthday party, not your own child. But you can plan for things to run while you're gone. Um, but I think that if you are serious about business growth and you can make the dates work, it's going to be an experience that is going to set you up for the year to come and even after that. I would say it's not necessarily something you need to do every year, although I was there last year. I'm going to be there again this year because I get great energy and inspiration from being around in person with people. And I'll be honest, I'm an introvert. I don't necessarily like to be around people for extended periods of time. I hate being in big crowds. But being in a small, concentrated group of women who are focused forward and looking at how they can make changes to their business or whatever, that energizes me. So, but I think it's one of the best things you can do for yourself and for your business. um just and what else are you doing in November at the beginning of the month?
There you go. Perfect. Jody, I appreciate you coming on and talking about your experience with Insiders Retreat. I am so excited to get to hug you in person again. For those that are unaware, Insiders Retreat is over in November. We are going to Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. We are right across the street from the ocean in a beach house, a gated community. It is going to be an amazing event, intimate, and these strides that we're going to be taking for 2026 are going to be life-changing for your business. So if you haven't filled out an application, definitely get on it. We have a few spaces left, and I would love to have you there. Jody, thank you so much again for your time.
Sure, happy to talk to you. This is yeah, I loved it and I'm looking forward to it again. So